Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here, and I'm with my guy Juan for another Washington Commanders Talk weekly stream. And today we're going to talk about a bunch of different things. Of course, the AGG news yesterday from John Keim that he's switching from tight end or from receiver to tight end. We're going to talk about that for a little bit. Talk about if we like the move and if we think that he could possibly make the roster as a third or fourth tight end. We'll also touch on Jimmy Moreland getting released real quickly. If that just happened like a couple hours ago. If Washington should go ahead and get him, and we'll just talk about a bunch of different things like expectations for rookies this year. Like I talked about it in my last stream, but we'll talk about expectations for Jahan Dotson, for other players as well in their rookie years. So how you doing, Juan? And appreciate you for coming on.
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you for having me on as always. And yeah, we'll have some things to talk about, and OTA is right around the corner, and it's gonna be fun to see, the group back together for the first time in a while. So I definitely appreciate you for having me on as always, man, and it's exciting to come on here and talk about our Commanders.
Yep. What's up, Michael? Appreciate you coming through. So real quickly, Jimmy Moreland, while we wait for some people to get in here, Jimmy Moreland getting released by the Texans. What are your thoughts on that? Would you sign Jimmy Moreland if you're the Commanders?
Yeah, so that's actually news to me. I didn't even know that. I'm glad you brought that up. Honestly, no. I liked Jimmy Moreland, but when we got rid of him, I wasn't really too mad about it. I thought maybe he'll find his way in Houston, but obviously he didn't. He got cut for a reason. So no, not really. I wouldn't bring him back. I like what we have now with Kendall Fuller, William Jackson, Benjamin St. Juice going into his second year. More so speaking for that slot. I really hope we give Danny Johnson a shot, man. Danny Johnson played really well in that Green Bay Packers game. He can also provide some ability to return from punting and kicking. So you'll be able to kill two birds in one stone with that department if you want to go that way. You also have Christian Holmes, who you just drafted, and you have Percy Butler and Bobby McCain, who still both has the ability to play slot cornerback too, and Cam Curl if you wanted to throw him in the mix. So no, I wouldn't bring back Jimmy Moreland. I don't think there's no need to. I think we're just gonna roll with what we have.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I feel that, but I honestly would bring him back just because I think that we do need a, slot corner, and I thought when we drafted him, he would be more of an outside guy because he was kind of a ball hawk at JMU, but they played him in the slot primarily, and he honestly played okay there. He wasn't anything special. But I think he was solid for sure. I think he was solid at that spot, not amazing starter, but an okay starter, like serviceable. And I would, right now, I think he's better than Danny Johnson, but, I could see them, going for another free agent. But Jimmy Moreland has the familiarity here, and it would be an easy transition. He's played with some of those other guys in the secondary, but like, I'm not like, oh, like we need to go after Jimmy Moreland. No, but if they do, would not be upset at all. Would be a very cheap deal. He's still young and he has that position flex. Let's see. Alexander Wilson, appreciate the $2 donation. Says Pedro, Sheehan is right. And this is from, Kevin Sheehan said on his podcast the other day that Washington arguably has the worst defense on paper in the NFC East. I assume that's what you're talking about. I personally disagree with that, like heavy, because I think that there's zero chance that the Giants have a better defense than us on paper. Like, come on, you have to be like, you have to look at their roster right now. Like, they lost James Bradbury, they lost Logan Ryan. Like, their secondary is terrible. They have Xavier McKinney, who's good, and Adoree Jackson, who's good. Like, their second and third cornerbacks, like, who are there? Like, Rodarius Williams, who was like a third. Yeah, like no one good. And then their D line, Azeez Ojulari, who had good numbers, but like I don't think he's as good as those numbers showed. But he was good for sure for a rookie, no doubt about it. And then you see, I'm trying to think about who else. Leonard Williams is good. I guess Thibodeau now, but like he's a rookie. Like I don't know. We'll see. I think our defense on paper like is much better. Their linebackers are better than ours, but like, is that really saying much? They don't really have that great of a linebackers. Like their linebackers are Blake Martinez, who's coming off of a torn ACL, and I'm trying to think of Tay Crowder. Like they don't have that many great players. So I think our defense, like even though like yes, they probably I didn't look at the rankings, but they probably finished higher than Washington did last year. But if you really look into it, Washington faced like the hardest schedule in terms of not only like the schedule overall, but also in terms of like the offenses and the quarterbacks they faced. So that skews the numbers. Like I even said, I thought the defense was going to be good last year, and I was saying even though I think they're going to be good and they might be even better than they were the year before, their numbers won't be as good because they're playing much better offenses. So that definitely skewed the numbers. Also, like the first 6-7 weeks of the season, they're playing everyone out of position. I mean, Kendall Fuller was playing in the slot when he was playing so much better on the outside later on in the season. And last season, Cam Curl was playing. I mean, Cam Curl was first off not playing much at all. Like he was playing 45% of snaps, and he's playing at free safety. He's our strong safety or Buffalo nickel. And then I'm trying to think of Landon Collins, of course, was at strong safety. We do not want him there. Like there was so many guys playing out of position. And once we fixed that, like for like a 6 week stretch, the 2 games before a win streak and then our 4-game win streak, the defense was good. Like they were like really, really solid for us. Like they were the reason why we're winning games. Like none of those games, I don't think, like our offense was balling out. Like if you look through those that 4-game stretch, like we were winning games like 17-15, 21, whatever, 20. Like we were winning close, low-scoring games, and our defense was playing well. And then obviously COVID hit, the injuries hit, and then the defense went downhill because they literally had like Milo Eifler or whatever his name is starting at middle linebacker against the Cowboys. We had 20 guys out because of COVID against the Eagles. Like the defensive ranking last year was a little bit misleading in my opinion, just because of who they played and like how many injuries they had. This year, easier schedule, more continuity on the defensive side of the ball, like in terms of the secondary. I think that'll help, and staying healthy will also help as well, and obviously playing a super easy schedule. Like I think this defense at worst is the 3rd best defense on paper in the NFC East. And I think you could argue that they're better than the Eagles because, like, the Eagles, again, not looking at the rankings, I know they probably finished high last year, but it's kind of the same thing as 2020 Washington, where they played Jake Fromm at least once. They played, Daniel Jones, who had a neck injury in that game for a full game. Like, they played so many bad QBs, and, they were barely winning some of these games. So I don't know. I think they definitely don't have the worst defense in the NFC. So what do you think about that? And what's up, Philip B., Patrick, West, Jason Jones, and Wacky Wapper and Love List? Appreciate you guys for coming through and appreciate the donation.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely don't think we.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely don't think we have the worst defense in the NFC East. I could definitely see why, a lot of people believe the Giants defense is better. I mean, they did get better. Drafting Kayvon Thibodeau, having Azeez Ojulari coming off the edge. The defense, it got better, but it's not better than the Washington Commanders on paper. I don't think so. Giving our injuries last year, the team really got stunned. The reason why I believe Sheehan is saying that is because of what Chase Young and Montez did, or should I say the lack thereof last year. Those guys are supposed to be the 2 people running this defense, leading this defense. Jamin Davis not having the best rookie year, the secondary not looking the best for parts of the season. So that's probably why he's saying that. But to keep it short and sweet, I agree. I don't think we have the worst defense. I think we have a better defense than the Eagles and the Giants. I think the Eagles' secondary is going to be obviously better than us. But the ability to get to the quarterback, I think we have that better. Although, both of our pass rushers are coming off injured seasons. I still believe Chase Young is better than Josh Sweat. I believe Montez Sweat is better than Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick is amazing, by the way, criminally underrated. But I believe both of those guys' potentials are way higher than the ceiling of Sweat Josh Sweat, that is, and Hassan Reddick. So I believe we still have a pretty good defense. I think it's not the worst at all.
Yeah, for sure. And especially when you talk on paper, like we have the talent there. Now it's just for them to, put it together. And like this, Del Rio, I don't care what happens this year. Like they could have the most injuries ever. I want Del Rio gone if this defense is not at the minimum. Like what I want them to be is a top 13, top 14 defense. But like at the minimum, a top 20. Like if they have a ton of injuries and they finish top 20, like okay, I'll give them a pass. But if they're relatively healthy and we don't finish in the top half of the league, then he needs to be gone because the talent is there, and he needs to get the best out of it. And if he's not, I think he should be gone after this year. Again, I think he is a very capable defensive coordinator. He's done it in the past. I'm just saying if he can't get it done this year in his third year, that's a pretty easy schedule. Yes, there are some tough teams. I think that he should be gone. And same thing with Scott Turner. Like this year, let's see what he can do. As long as Carson Wentz plays most of the games, he's going to have a capable, player playing, capable quarterback. And if he isn't able to get this offense in the top 20 at least, then I think also he likely should be gone. But I think Scott Turner is probably a little safer, I think, than Del Rio just because they did extend him. I'm not sure. Let's see. Jason Jones says, what about Torrey McTyer? He was playing. Yeah, I like Torrey McTyer a lot. Like, I think he would be a very good fifth corner on the roster, even fourth corner. Like, I wouldn't mind him. Only problem, I think he's more of an outside guy, and they already have a bunch of outside guys, but who knows? I would still bring him back, though, because he is a pretty good corner, in my opinion. Like he's not a star, but he's a good depth piece, and he's playing okay up until he got hurt, and for the price you're going to get him at, okay is very good for that price. So I would bring him back for sure. Just really depends on the ACL, like how he's recovering from that. But I mean, it happened week 3 or 4, so he should be good to go by the start of the season.
Yeah, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Torrey McTyer. I talked about him, ad nauseum on my videos with possibly bringing him back. He's a guy that I first found out probably just like you at the open practice. If you went, we seen this guy and we're like, what number did he wear? I forgot now. Was it like I forgot what number he wore.
35, I think. I don't know.
35. Yeah, 35 it is. There you go. When I first saw him at the open practice, I'm like, who is 35? He was flying around making plays on the ball, covering the corners really or receivers really well. And I'm like, who is this guy? Then that carried into the preseason. And he was really solid. He made the active roster, and it was just very unfortunate that he got hurt on the very last play of the game versus Atlanta, defending a Hail Mary. So yeah, I'm definitely intrigued with Torrey McTyer. It's still a lot there that's unknown about him. Exactly like what Pedro said. I don't think he's a star or anything by any means, but he definitely could make the active roster and be that 4th, 5th corner that we would need. So I am intrigued with Torrey McTyer. I don't think they are, though, just for the simple fact that it is Torrey McTyer at the end of the day. You can always find another one of those guys, and he's coming off a significant knee injury, so I don't think he's going to be back, which sucks because there is something to that kid, and I wish him the best in his recovery, and hopefully he gets back out there in the NFL with someone.
Yep, I agree with you. I would bring him back if you can. I think they should add another cornerback. Like I think the depth there isn't great, especially at slot cornerback, because you look at it, I like Danny Johnson, but I don't think necessarily as a starter. But let's say he looks good in camp and you have him as a slot corner as a starter. Who is behind him? If he goes down, what are you doing? Here's the thing. If he goes down, then you probably have to move Fuller to the slot and then move Benjamin St-Juste on the outside. And that just, to me, then you're moving so many pieces around, and it's just not good to mess up the defense like that. Because then the communication is worse. That you just don't. You want continuity on the secondary. That's the most important, in my opinion, position to have continuity is the secondary, because they need to have good communication with each other. And once you switch those roles, I think it messes it up. So I think you need another slot corner that if, either to start over Danny Johnson. So let's say they sign someone like Chris Harris, then he starts over Danny Johnson. If he gets hurt, you slide Danny Johnson in. Or You sign someone else to play behind Danny Johnson. They need another slot corner, I think, for sure. Alexander Wilson, appreciate the $5 donation. Says recently D Hall said he's not a fan of the defense, and the team didn't address it at all. He said they didn't improve the linebackers or the secondary. So I actually did not see the D Hall comment. I think I scrolled through Twitter and I saw something about it. I know he's criticizing the team, and I mean, I can agree with it a little bit, in terms of like, I don't agree that the defense isn't good, or I guess he said he's not a fan of it. I more agree though, like, come on, you had to address the linebacker position. They haven't addressed it at all. Like, they literally, the only thing they've done is sign undrafted free agents. Like, to me, that is not even close to enough for the worst position group on the team. Like, they've had probably the bottom three linebacking core over the last 2 years. And right now, as it currently is, I don't know each team's linebacking core, but I would probably put ours as the worst or one of the worst linebacking cores in the NFL, because at least on paper, because we have Cole Holcomb, who's a good starter, and then no one else. Because Davis, at this point, again, we're talking about on paper. We can talk about projections all we want with Jamin Davis, but right now, like last year, he was not good. So we really have Cole Holcomb and then no one else. Hopefully, though, Jamin Davis can play solid. He's playing out of position last year, so maybe on the outside he'll be better. He better be better, and if he is, that'll be a boost. I think Cole Holcomb, of course, is solid. And then you got nobodies. Khaleke Hudson, he's a backup. He should not be your next guy up. David Mayo, backup at best, special teams guy. And then you got like Farrod Gardner, Drew White, Trey Walker. Like, come on. Like, that is not a good linebacking room at all. I like some of the players there for sure. I just think you need minimum one more linebacker, probably two. Like AJ Klein would be a solid option. Alexander Johnson, who I really like, would be amazing if they could get him. Any of the, Quan Alexander, Dante Hightower, Joe Schobert. Like, there's so many guys that are better than what we have at linebacker. So I agree with that. And then I think that I don't think it was like super needed to improve the secondary. Like, I think it was somewhat needed. I think more so the depth is what was needed. They haven't done that. We'll see what they do there if they add like a slot cornerback, like I was saying, because they still have that extra wave of free agency. Like, there's still a lot of guys available. So we'll see if they do that. And like, if this is a defense week one, I am very concerned, because starting wise, I think it's solid besides that one linebacker that you're missing there. But any injury happens on, let's say one injury happens on the interior defensive line. Let's say, hopefully not, but let's say Dron Payne gets hurt. Then you got John Allen and Fedarian Mathis, who are going to, they're not going to play all the snaps. So you literally have no one behind him. Maybe Daniel Wise, but even Daniel Wise was kind of playing more on the edge last year. So you might have to switch James Smith-Williams on the inside. So you're one injury away from like being screwed there. Edge rusher, I guess you got some okay depth pieces there in F.A. Obata, so he can come in and play okay for you. I like it better than it was last year. Middle linebacker or linebacker, if an injury happens there, you're absolutely screwed. Safety, I don't know. I mean, depends on how Percy Butler plays. If Percy Butler plays great, then you're fine there. You're going to be great there if Percy Butler is that guy. If he's not, though, the depth there isn't the best. But they have Derek Forrest. We'll see how he does. And then cornerback. Look, so the depth on the defense is lacking. So if this is the roster on defense week one, then I'll be a little bit concerned, because injuries do happen. But I think they'll sign minimum one veteran, at least a good backup linebacker. At the minimum, a good backup, like decently better, significantly better than David Mayo. And then I think they'll add another piece in the secondary. But if they don't, I mean, I guess I would agree with D Hall, that like I'm not a huge fan of the defense after the starting, guys, and I would be concerned about that. Appreciate that donation. And Juan, what do you kind of feel about what D Hall said and kind of like the depth of the defense?
Yeah, so what D'Angelo Hall said, so I'm hearing that maybe it's a little bit of some saltiness there because he is no longer with the team. Even though they said that he said it was a mutual agreement, it was I guess he left on his own terms. But you know how this business goes, these things do. It may be a little bit of saltiness there for D Hall, as to why he's taking shots at the defense and Ron Rivera. Which in some points, like you mentioned, with Rivera and with this specific topic here, the defense is true in a way. So I mean, although it may seem a little bit saltiness there, it's also some truth in what he is saying. With the defense, not being a fan of it, I'm still a fan of it. Oh my god, there you go. I'm still a fan of it. Sorry about that. I'm still a fan of the defense. What else did he say? The team didn't address the linebacker position, which is true. We didn't address the linebacker situation. I believe that has to do with more of us wanting to give Cole Hogan a middle linebacker role, and also of us running a 52, which we're going to have like five deep, five down linemen, two linebackers, and stuff like that. So we may not really need three linebackers, but of course the depth behind Cole Holcomb and Jamie Davis is pretty bad. Like you mentioned, Milo Eifel, David Mayo, and I believe we released Jordan Kuznick and stuff like that. So the defensive line depth is pretty bad, or the linebacker depth, sorry, is pretty bad. So I mean, I agree with that part of it. The secondary, however, I don't agree with. I don't know how he looked at the secondary before this offseason, where he's saying specifically we need to improve, whether it's cornerback or safety. But we did improve, or should I say, at least address the secondary with getting Percy Butler. We still have Kendall Fuller, William Jackson in his second year here, Benjamin St. Juste in his second year here. We still have some solid pieces. So D Hall has some truth to what he is saying, but he also has, some things where it's a little question, and it's like, how much are you really watching this team, if you are at all, anymore that you're not, with it. So
Yeah. Let's see. So appreciate that donation. Jason said, "Do you think our entire coaching staff, including no, I don't think they're going to be on the hot seat at all this year, especially Ron Rivera. But I think, let's say, well, maybe I don't know if the defense underperforms big time. I could see Del Rio being gone. I think Scott Turner's probably safe just because of the extension. But if the offense looks really bad, then I could see him being gone. Rivera, let's say we go 7-10 or 8-9 this year, and there's no legitimate excuse at all for it, then that's when going into the next year, he's on the hot seat. And if he doesn't win early that year, or if he doesn't win at all that year, that's when he would probably get fired, possibly. At this point, I think he's fine. Wacky Rapper said tight end. He had this tight end depth chart. In his opinion, Logan, Bates, Cole, Reyes, AGG. I agree with that. I would put Logan at 1, and then Bates and Cole are your kind of tight end 2s, because Bates is your blocking guy, Cole is your receiving guy. So I love the pairing of those two, and then Reyes and AGG. I agree with that. And when Juan is back, because I think he's fixing his green screen, we will talk about AGG moving to tight end. Our thoughts on that? Yeah, Wacky Rapper. I agree. Giants, they're probably the worst defense. I don't know if the Cowboys are third, though, because they have solid pieces in the secondary. I know people hate on Trayvon Diggs, but I mean, he had 10 interceptions or whatever he had. I think he might even have more than that. Like, he's a good corner. You got Micah Parsons, who's an absolute animal, and then you have, I guess they lost Randy Gregory, but they have Lawrence, they have Javon Curse. Like, they got a bunch, or like Curse. They have got a bunch of decent players. So I don't know if I would put him at third. And yeah, Michael, I think D Hall definitely still has a chip on his shoulder with the organization. I think he's a little salty that that they didn't bring him back. I don't know what the deal was with that, but he was, the color commentator or whatever. But we'll see what happens with him. What's up, Dave Quavis? Appreciate you for coming through. So yeah, now let's go ahead and talk about AGG moving to tight end. So the news came out yesterday. I was listening to John Keim's podcast yesterday, and then I was like, oh, wow. And then I went out, tweeted out. And, I mean, I honestly do not mind the move. And, there was a guy, forgot who I think KB on Twitter. He put out a post a couple weeks ago of a picture of John Bates, and AGG blocking each other. So, and he was like, AGG making the move to tight end. So, that was kind of I might post that picture on, my Twitter or something if you guys want to check that out. But I like the move. I think Khan was saying he's put on weight. Like in that picture, he honestly looks more swole than John Bates. And, he's going to have to add weight, but he probably already added a decent amount. I'm not sure how much, but, he's going to have to probably be definitely over 230, probably at that 240-ish range. He's 6'4", so, like, you got to be – like, I think Reed was 6'2", 240. I'm not sure. So, AGG's probably got to be at that 240 range. If he's not already, he'll probably continue to bulk up. But, like, here's the thing with AGG. At receiver, like, I'm sorry, but, like, he had no future probably in the NFL. Definitely not on the Washington Commanders at the receiver position. What's up, Jairus? Appreciate you coming through. Like,
Good,
he had no future on this team as a receiver. Like, he could have maybe made the practice squad, but, like, let's go through the names. Like, Terry, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, Cam Sims, Dax Milne. I know I'm missing Erickson. Like, those are 6 guys. Who? De'Ami Brown. Yeah, those are 7 guys that 100% would make the roster over him, and they're probably going to keep 7 receivers max. So that's 7 right there. No chance of making the roster. He has a slim chance of making the roster as a tight end, but he has more of a chance there. And I like this move by them because you're possibly getting something out of nothing. Because, again, at this point, AGG would be adding nothing to us on this roster, but maybe moving him to tight end could give us something. I don't think he's going to be a star or anything, but maybe he could be a solid backup eventually. And I think the strat is get him, get him working this year with, Juan Castillo this offseason, adding on some weight, learning the system, getting some valuable work in training camp and in the preseason. Do that. He probably won't make the roster. You release him. He will very likely, unless he balled out in the preseason, make the practice squad because, he did it all last year. He was not claimed all last year off of our practice squad and after we released him. So I just think that that's a strat. You keep him on the practice squad and for a year or so until he's ready, and then maybe eventually he can be your third tight end, maybe even second tight end eventually. I just don't think that, like, if Logan's healthy, let's say Logan is healthy for the start of the season. I'm not sure if he's going to be, but let's say he is. You got Logan at 1 for sure, Bates at 2, and Turner at 3. Like, those guys 100% are making the roster over AGG. And a lot of teams only keep 3 tight ends. I think last year they kept 4, but that was just because of Sammis Reyes. So, like, that's 3. And so maybe he becomes the 4th there. I don't know. It could be Sammis, though, over him. So he's kind of battling it out there. But if Logan Thomas starts the year on IR for a few weeks, I could see AGG maybe making the roster. But I think they can survive with him on the practice squad for a year or so. What's up, Brian? No reports on Sammis Reyes yet. Donald Jenkins, appreciate that. Yeah, it's good to be informed about the other teams. I do that. I'm subscribed to Bad Dog, Entertainer Sports, whatever. I forgot the guy's name, Cowboys Talk or whatever his name is, and then Philly Mike. So I'm subscribed to a bunch of different guys just so I can get the pulse of the other teams' fan bases and what's going on. So, Juan, your thoughts on AGG moving to tight end? Do you like the move, and do you think he could make the team? We both talked about this in our videos, but if you guys didn't watch that, we're just getting into it now.
Yeah, shout out to Donnell Jenkins too. Like you said, you got to keep the enemies close and, subscribe to a few different teams in the divisions of their content creators too, just like for the same reason. Got to keep them close and whatnot. We're all family at the end of the day, even though we hate each other's teams. What I think about AGG moving to tight end. I feel like this is the last chance to save his NFL career. That's how I feel. I personally don't care about the move just because we're not keeping 4 tight ends. Like, that's just absurd. And I definitely, like you said, Logan Thomas, Cole Turner, and John Bates are all going to make it over him. If not, those are the 3 locks already, right? I don't see Sammis Reyes really making this roster. I feel like that possibility kind of went out the window with this move, making it
And
public and whatnot.
and he's probably over Samus Race is even like if he doesn't make it though, he's probably over AGG on the depth chart anyways.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say it's over per se, but I definitely feel like the developmental of Samus Reyes, one, probably isn't going that as smoothly as they want, or two, is just not big of that big of a priority to them. And the same thing with Antonio Gandy-Golden. It's a move that it's just a summer experiment. If it goes well, okay, he'll probably be on the practice squad. If it doesn't, then he'll be released. But it's a move that's like okay. I still don't see him making this roster though over the guys like a Logan Thomas, John Bates, and Cole Turner. But we'll see. It should be a fun summer to see what he can provide. Remember, he wanted to move Cam Sims to tight end at one point. So we'll see what it's like moving him to tight end. I just also feel like we already have that receiver to tight end kind of change in Cole Turner, because remember, he was a former wide receiver, then they changed him to tight end too. So we'll see. But definitely it's going to be interesting, but it's not really, I wouldn't say it's big news to me, just because I'm not expecting much from Antonio Gandy-Golden.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, they kept 4 tight ends, I think, last year. They did. So, and I think that's because they wanted to keep Reyes. So if they do it again, I think it's just to keep Reyes. We'll see if they do it. I'm not sure. I want to pull up the picture real quick of AGG, because he definitely does look pretty buff. I'm not sure if this was, if he was looking like this before, but there it is. Okay, let's see. I think it's loading in, but you see him right there with Bates. I mean, he kind of looks big. I mean, he's not. I don't know. Like, he kind of looks bigger than Bates right there. But he is the one, doing the blocking. But I mean, we'll see. I'm rooting for AGG for sure. We'll see what he does this year, and definitely rooting for him. But I think they can live with him on the practice squad for a year or so. And if the transition is going smooth, then I think that he can eventually make the 53-man roster the next year. But I don't see him making the roster though this year.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he's gonna make the roster either. Like I said, I think John Bates, Cole Turner, and Logan Thomas are your 3 tight ends.
Yeah, I agree. And I honestly like that group. If Logan Thomas is healthy, like, I love the pairing of John Bates and Cole Turner, because it's like you get the best of both worlds. Bates, I think PFF had him as the highest ranked blocker out of any tight end, and you got to take that with a grain of salt, but that's like insane as a rookie, because tight ends usually take a while to develop. And he was a solid pass catcher. He wasn't anything special, but like, honestly though, like, he got like 250 receiving yards last year, but like, it was all in the second half of the year, and he wasn't even getting that targeted. So he's like okay as a pass catcher, maybe can develop a little bit more into one. And then you look at, Cole Turner, not a great blocker, but he's 6'6", 6'7", great pass catcher, has great hands, and he's, former receiver to tight end. So like, that is best of both worlds. One guy, elite blocker, solid pass catcher. Other guy, great pass catcher out of college, not so great blocker. So you get the best of both worlds there. And yeah, they seem to like, for tight end, these former converted guys. Logan Thomas, QB to tight end. AGG, tight end to receiver to tight end. I'm trying to think of, Cole Turner, receiver to tight end as well. Ricky Seals-Jones last year, receiver to tight end. And then they had like other guys as well. So they like these converted players at tight end for sure. And yeah, I'm excited to see what AGG does. Again, I don't think either of us have like high expectations for him, but who knows? Maybe he can surprise us. There's always those surprise players. And then he also talked about Kelvin Harmon looking pretty good in workouts. I don't really, not that I don't believe Kyle, but like, that's just probably, someone's telling him from Kelvin Harmon's camp. It might be even from Washington's camp. I think it probably was. But we got to see it. We got to see it to believe it. With these guys, especially before even OTAs start. Like we got to see it. And Harmon, like honestly, he could maybe make the roster. Like if he really does well, maybe he could make it as the last receiver. I don't think he will, but like he has a chance. Like you know, I don't know because you listed the receivers: Terry, Curtis, Jahan Dotson, De'Ami Brown, Cam Sims. In my opinion, those guys all locks. And then after that, you probably got one of the two at least in Dax Mill and Erickson. So that puts you at 6, maybe both of those at 7. So maybe he could make it, but I don't know. I know he was your guy though coming out, or yeah, I think you really liked him coming in his second year, but of course had that ACL injury which ruined everything.
Yeah, I was a big Kevin Harmon fan because in 2019, besides Terry McLaurin, he was the only receiver to really show something. So I definitely had high hopes for Kevin Harmon. But it sucks that the torn ACL came at the worst time. Now I don't think he's going to make the active roster. It's kind of a slim shot, if any, just because of the talent that we now have at the wide receiver position. So it sucks. I would love to keep him running the practice squad, man, but I hope he gets his shots. If not here, definitely somewhere else on the active roster because there is talent in Kelvin Harmon, man.
Yeah, I agree. It's just an unfortunate situation for sure. And I think, rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins, but I think that he would have had I think Dwayne Haskins that year would have benefited from Harmon because they had such a good connection before. And like, I would really would like to see those two play together again. And Steven Sims also the year before played great. And then his second year that didn't play well. Like, he was my guy. Like, I thought Steven Sims was going to be a dog for us. And he just wet the bed, man, in his second year. Like, I don't know what happened to him because, I mean, he was insane. He was insane in the second half of his rookie year. And then he just starts dropping passes, dropping punts. Like, I don't know. I don't know what happened with him. But yeah, I mean, those guys. And I saw a stat actually. I don't know if it's true because someone commented on my channel. But what's crazy is Washington, and I'm trying to remember if this is actually true, but he said Washington hasn't had 2 over 500-yard receivers since 2017, which is like honestly insane if you think about it because like 500 yards, like of course it's an accomplishment and everything, but like in terms of like an NFL receiver, like it's not that hard to get over 500 yards and to not have 2 receivers with over 500 yards like in 5 years, that is insane. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. What did Kelvin Harmon have like 365 his 2019?
Yeah, same thing with
Um,
Sims. He had like 300. And then 2018, I'm trying to think, Doxton didn't have, I don't think he had
Trey
500.
Quinn was there, Dotson, Maurice Harris. Like it was bad, man. I believe Maurice Harris was on that 2018
Was
roster. Now,
Crowder on that 2018 team?
no, I think Crowder was in. That was his first year in New York. I may be wrong on, but now I'm intrigued to actually look up that roster, so I'm going to do it now. But yeah, that sucks. That nobody. How many yards did what was it? Adam Humphries is our second our second leading receiver behind Terry or J.D. McKissick was or something like that last year.
Yeah, and he didn't even have 500. And the thing is, like, this doesn't count running backs. And I don't know if we even have it at over 500 running back, but like that doesn't count. It just, purely receiver.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the 2018 roster. Crowder was on there, and he so happens to be,
He was injured, right?
I don't see if it says so. But he had 388, and Josh Dotson was our leading receiver with 532, or I guess you would say Jordan Reed was with 558. But more of the story, no one really had a good
And that's the
receiving
thing.
year.
Yeah, and Reed wasn't a receiver, so we only had like he's a tight end technically, so we had one over 500. Like that's embarrassing, man. Like the Terry man needs some help, and I'm really hoping Curtis and Jahan can both do that this year. Like we better have 3 over 500 receive. Honestly, 3 over 600, right? Like I mean, Curtis 100% should have over 600 receiving yards. Same thing with Jahan Dotson. Like I don't care that he's a rookie. Like first round guy, like you have to produce. Like you have to produce if you're healthy. I mean, if he plays 17 games, like I need over 650, honestly. Like I need that. Like 500 is not cutting it for me. Like it's better than what we've had, but like first round, like you got to produce.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I definitely think that, like I said, 800 is what I'm expecting, man. 700 is what is like. I'm not taking nothing less than that, bro. You were pick 16, where we could have, obviously he didn't just play a factor in the pick at 16. Obviously, they were looking past just 16, but we traded back where we could have got Kyle Hamilton. We could have got, Curse Olave, who I know you didn't want, but Jameson Williams is another guy that we could have got there at 11. Instead, we traded back. So again, you pick 16 wide receiver in the first round, man. You have to come in and make immediate impact. And I'm not expecting nothing less than 700 yards. Like, I'm sorry. What did I say? 800 or 700 yards in my video. You have to come in here and make an immediate impact, man. Really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to. Like, that's the thing. I don't love drafting first round receivers, but if you do, you better get someone who's producing right away because you can find these guys. I mean, we haven't been able to do it, but you can find these guys on the streets that can get you 500 to 600 plus yards for relatively cheap. So let's hope that, Jahan Dotson produces. Let's see. Wacky, where do you read that he gained 12 to 14 pounds? Because I know he did gain some weight, but I'm not sure how much he gained. Roger Smith says, I question AGG's physicality to play tight end. This isn't going to work. I mean, yeah, they're definitely trying to salvage the fourth round pick. I think it's a good move, though, just because, like, you have nothing currently with AGG. Maybe the position switch can get you something. Probably not, but maybe you can. I mean, he's going to have good speed for a tight end, like very good speed. I think he's like a 4.6 40. Like that's pretty good for a tight end. He's got the height at 6'4". Got to put a little bit more weight on. But like, I think he's not super physical for a tight end, but for like a receiver, he was pretty physical, pretty strong, pretty good blocker. He just like at the receiver position couldn't separate. He was not quick. So like that was his biggest downfall. But now playing against bigger, slower guys, you're going to be able to do a lot more in terms of separation. So I don't know. I liked AGG coming out. I thought it was a good pick. Unfortunate that it did not work out, at least yet. But like, I think I'm not upset with them moving him to tight end.
Where's my bad? What'd you say, Pedro?
No, I was just saying, like, I'm not upset about them moving AGG to tight end.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, I really don't care about it because I don't think he's making the roster just because for the simple fact I think 3 tight ends is what they're going to keep. Only, and like you said, they kept 4 last year. Who was it was Reyes that they kept, right? It was
Reyes, Ricky,
Logan,
John, and Logan.
Bates, and who was it? Bates. We said who was the third person?
Logan, Bates, Ricky Seals-Jones, and
Ricky
Reyes.
Seals-Jones. Yeah, Ricky Seals-Jones. See, yeah, I don't know if they keep 4 this year, just for the simple fact that we have way more talent at other positions like receiver this year than we did last year. Yeah, running back too, to where the point where it's like last year we were able to keep 4 tight ends just because we didn't have that much at receiver and tight end. Now this year you add guys like Jahan, who's obviously a lock, but you add guys like Jahan, who's going to be one more roster spot. You got Cam Sims. You got, Dax Milne, who you still think is going to be a guy that you would add to this roster. So receiver, running back, you got to make room for the rookie guy that we just got from Alabama, James Brian Robinson. I always get those mixed up, James and Brian, but Brian Robinson, got to make room for those guys. So I don't think they're going to keep 4. I think it's going to be 3 for the simple fact that they need needs elsewhere, and just those 3 guys are going to be better than AGG. And you already got that former receiver to tight end, the kind of guy in Cole Turner, because like I said earlier in the stream, remember Cole Turner was a former receiver before he turned tight end. So I don't know if you want to have 2 of those guys on the roster.
Yep, I agree. We got 60 people in the chat. Make sure you guys sub up to Juan. Let me get that link up there for you guys. Go ahead and sub up to him. On the road to 4,000 subscribers, about 50 away. Make sure you guys get him there. Juan Gotti Talking Sports, putting up a bunch of great Washington content. OTAs start next week. That's when things are going to start to heat up for a couple weeks before they cool down, and then heat back up for training camp. Also, make sure you guys sub up to me on the road to 8K. Hit that like button, turn on those notifications. Also, go ahead and follow the Twitter. So you guys, we got like 15-ish minutes left. Go ahead and, ask any questions you guys want us to answer. Let's see. Roger says, too many question marks at tight end. We need to get a seasoned vet for insurance. Jesse James is that guy. Probably cheap too, in my opinion. What do you think about that one?
I definitely see where Roger's talking about, but again, we're Washington, and that makes too much sense. Like, we don't do the things that make a lot of sense. We try to do, the other thing. Getting a seasoned vet would make sense, like I said, but again, we have two young guys behind Logan who I don't think Logan is going to. I know he's shooting for week 1. I don't think he's going to be ready for week 1, so I think it's going to be Bates and Cole Turner out there early. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But again, we're Washington, and we typically don't do the thing that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and I'm putting Juan's link in the comments. Go ahead and sub up. But what's it called? I think I agree, because if you're feeling Logan's going to miss some time, then I totally agree with that. You got to add another veteran guy. I think it would have been better though to add a guy in free agency before you drafted Cole Turner in the 5th round. Because, like, again, got 3 locks in Logan, Cole Turner, and Bates. So, like, if you want to keep 4 tight ends, then it's going to be a little bit tough if you also add in a veteran. Also, if you add in a veteran, then, like, is Cole Turner really going to get much playing time at all? Like, same thing with Bates. So, and the only reason I guess now I would bring in a veteran is if you think Logan Thomas is going to miss, like, more than, like, 3, 4, 5 games. We'll see. Like, it's going to be close. I think he'll, like, if I had to guess, I would probably say, like, I'm leaning on him, like, missing a game or so, maybe more. But like, we don't know right now. We don't know. And one thing is, they did keep 4 tight ends last year, but they also, which is crazy, they kept 8 receivers. So, like, I don't think that's going to happen this year. So, like, they could probably get that down to 7, maybe even 6. And then that opens up, maybe they can keep that tight end, or maybe they can keep another position. Let's see. No, I think Chase is going to be ready for week 1, just because, first off, I think it happened a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks before the injury to Logan Thomas. So that's one thing. Also, there's a 10-year age difference between the two, guys. So, like, generally, the younger you are, the quicker you recover from the injuries. So, like, Logan Thomas is going to recover slower. Usually, a guy like him is going to recover slower than someone like Chase Young. I think Chase Young will be ready for the start of the season. He might not be at his full strength. Like, you look at Joe Burrow last year, like, his first half of the year was not great. His second half of the year was amazing. So that's just my thoughts right there. I think that Chase Young will be ready for the start of the season. What do you think, Juan? And keep asking questions, guys.
Yeah, I think he may be ready for week 1. I'm not gonna like be go to say like he will, because one, I don't know, but I think he may be. But I definitely think if he is going to play in week 1, I think he's going to be on a pitch count. I don't think he's going to play, majority of the snaps like he would usually do if he was 100%. And which he may be 100%, but they're just going to want to work him back slow. And maybe that's what they used preseason for. But at the same time, I think he's going to be on a pitch count to start the season. So I think he's gonna be ready for week 1. I'm more concerned with Logan Thomas. Just like you said, he got hurt a little bit later in the season, a couple weeks later. Honestly, Chase got hurt. What was that versus the Bucks week? I want to say that was after the bye week, the first game after the bye week. So what was that, like week 10 or something like that? And then he got hurt at the Raiders. So it is a little concerning for me with Logan. I'm a little more at ease with Chase. And then, as you said, Steven Sims got a new offensive coordinator that sucked. That's why, honestly, no. Like, Steven Sims did it to himself. The ability just kept dropping punts and not being able to catch. He did it to himself. It wasn't Scott Turner there on that front, And this is a guy coming from a guy that is, hard on Scott Turner, a guy that is, a guy that typically – I'm not going to say I don't like Scott Turner, but I call it what it is. When he does good, I praise him. When he's bad, I let him have it. So this is coming from a guy that keeps it real. I'm not defending Scott, but I definitely don't think he was the problem. He was the reason why Steven Sims didn't make this roster, or he got cut, I should say. It was Steven Sims, just the ability to not hold in the passes and dropping punts and stuff. So I don't think it was Scott Turner at all.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and you said Steven Sims just had one big drop. He had more than one drop for sure. Like he had a few drops, I think, and like they were easy catches to make. And he had like 3 fumbles as a punt returner that got in his head as well. So I don't Steven Sims' failures in his second year I don't think were Scott Turner's fault. Like yeah, sure, Scott Turner probably could have done a little bit of a better job, but like you look at the QBs he was playing with that year, Alex Smith on like a broken on like one leg, Kyle Allen, Dwayne Haskins, like it wasn't these elite guys. So like he didn't have much to work with, and it's hard. And he had Heineke as well. Like it's not you can't expect him to be Washington to be a top 5 offense under Scott Turner when he doesn't have a good QB. Like you look at the best offensive coordinators in the league, they all have good QBs. Like there's no like there's a correlation there, and part of the offensive coordinator also partly makes the QB better. But like yeah, Scott Turner hasn't had a good coordinator. We'll see though. He's made some questionable calls for sure. Like I can't deny that, but I want to see what he can do this year with a actual QB. Like that's kind of what I've been just saying. Like I want to see this guy with an actual QB, not a guy in Heineke who just can't get it down the field and just isn't a starting QB or not a great starter in this league. D Sparkle 12116 says, "Do you think the Commanders going to win the Super Bowl this year?" No, I hope, but I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl unless Carson Wentz plays like 2017 Wentz, and like I don't think that's going to happen. Like I want him to play like 2019 Wentz, and I think we can be successful like that. Like if Wentz is 2019 Wentz, I think we can win a playoff game. I really think we can. But I don't think much more than that this year. We'll see though. We'll see. Get low says, "You think if Gibson struggles this season again, Robinson will take over at RB1?" I could see that, not this year, but like the thing is with Gibson, if two things have to happen. Gibson has to, one, like get hurt, and then Robinson comes in and just balls out. Because if that happens, they're gonna have Gibson or Robinson as RB1, or at least both those guys sharing the carries if Robinson ends up like balling out. Or you have the return of the Gibson fumbles. If that happens again, like that's just at the end of the day, like if you just continue to fumble, like there's really no coaching it out of you. Like if it just keeps happening, like there's a reason it's happening, and part of it is in your head. So like even though it doesn't seem like it would be, like I don't know, I would if Gibson again has a year where he fumbles like he did last year, where it literally cost us games, then I think maybe Robinson could overtake him again if he plays well that year. But I think Gibson will be fine. I think he'll be RB1. But I think Robinson will be a significant contributor. And I like McKissick, of course, as well. And we'll see Patterson if he can make the roster. That's a really solid group right there.
Yeah, man. Shout out to King, man. He said it. They got to keep Patterson, man. They got to keep my boy Jared Patterson, man.
I want him to.
He was heating up, man. I'm telling you. But well, for sure, let's get rid of the narrative of. And if you're talking solely on fumbles, yeah, I agree. But get low. But if you're saying like, I got to get rid of the narrative that Gibson was struggling. Like, yeah, if you're saying struggling with ball security, okay, I agree. But like struggling overall, or just saying struggling in period, is kind of, I don't like that term, because Gibson, yes, he had the fumble issues, but he still was really, really good. Had over 1,000 yards last year. He is running back one. You know what I'm saying? Brian Robinson's not running back one. Only way that happens, is, like you said, is if he continues to fumble. But other than that, this is Antonio Gibson's team, and he's going to prove that, man. The AG disrespect has been crazy this offseason, man. So I really hope he goes out and keeps that ball, man. Holds on to that ball. Because if he does, man, he's a top back in this league, man. I say he's top 15. running backs when he plays at his best, man. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, what's up, King? Appreciate you coming through. And I think if he's at his best, I mean, he's a top. I would put top 10. I think he's up there at his best. Like I think he finished like fifth or sixth in rushing yards, and like he wasn't extremely efficient last year. Like I think that's where people call said he struggled. His yards per carry weren't great. I think that's more his injuries. Like I just need this guy to stay healthy, bro. Like I know he played in all the games last year except for the virus. But like, I need this guy to be healthy. Like every single week, he was questionable. I think literally every single week of the season, he was questionable for the game. And like, I need this man to stay healthy. Like he's got to stay healthy. And if he does that, I think he will succeed. I think the fumbles would be less. I think he'll be more efficient. And I think that and appreciate that, Vance. I think that Robinson will be a good, solid guy that can complement him. That can maybe Robinson getting some more carries, taking a few carries away from Gibson, will help him stay healthy. That would be the ideal goal. Maybe instead of going 20 carries a game for Gibson, maybe you take that down, or let's say like from 18 carries, maybe you take that down to 16. It's not a huge deal, but it's 2 less carries a game. And at the end of the season, that's 35, whatever, that's a significant amount of carries you take off of Gibson, and he's going to feel a little bit more fresh. So I think that's something you do. And I think that's the way you use Robinson, a short yardage guy. You need a few yards, you give it to Robinson. You need to give Gibson a break, you give it to Robinson. Gibson's hurt, you give it to Robinson. But Gibson's still your guy entering the season.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Again, I hope my man goes out there and ball, man, because a lot of people are kind of down on him. Even though he did give half 1,000 yards last year.
Yep, I agree. What's up, YouTube? Gabriel, what's up? Dubs family, saw you earlier. Forgot to shout you out.
What's up, Dubs?
Appreciate you guys for coming through. Wacky says JD will be gone after the season. I'll bet anybody. I mean, 2-year deal. Like, of course, I could see it happening, but I mean, I think he could still stay here. I think he can. The deal is reasonable, as long as he plays solid this year. He could be back. But I mean, also if they don't, if Wentz doesn't really pass to him much as a pass catcher, and maybe he wants to leave, maybe he, they move on from him. But I don't know. I think he'll probably be here.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you
You
think?
said JD McKissick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be here. I don't think. I mean, yeah, maybe they could. What is 2-year deal, right? 2-year extension.
2-year, like pretty cheap. I think it was like $3 million.
Yeah, I could definitely see, like, if it depends, like if he doesn't have a season that he had last year, they could move on from him after 1 year. But I really don't see a reason to, unless Antonio Gibson can just carry the load in the receiving game too. But I think he's gonna be here. I don't see JD going anywhere for those 2 years.
Yep, I agree. So any last questions, go ahead and put that in the chat. Got 60 people in here. Again, make sure you guys sub up to Juan. Link is in the chat. On the road to 4,000 subscribers. Get him there. If you guys aren't subscribed to him, anyone out of these 60 people, sub him up. Maybe we can get him to 4K today. Let's see. So go ahead and do that. Also, sub up to me. Go ahead and follow our socials as well. Mine is Pedro Schmidt YT on YouTube. Juan Gotti, go ahead and plug your stuff.
Well, yeah, everything's Juan Gotti Talking Sports on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. You can follow me there, and like Pedro said, on the road to 4,000 subscribers, ever so close, man. Like 50 away, so it would be greatly appreciated if you guys go check me out and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. So, that's we're gonna wrap it up unless anyone has any last questions. And yeah, I think again the next couple of days will be a little slow, but OTAs I believe start next week. I think on Monday they have it, but I think media starts on Tuesday. So that the next week, like next 10 to 12 days, we'll have a decent amount of content out. It should be fun giving guys, recaps of minicamp, give you guys some highlights, our insight. We'll be doing that. I assume Juan's going to be doing that as well on his channel. We'll do some streams on it as well, recapping week 1 and it should be fun. And then, yeah, make sure you guys check that out. After that, though, me and Juan have talked about it's going to be a 6-week stretch of like just waiting for training camp. That's when it's going to be a little bit rough there.
Yep.
But, you know, right now it's going to be interesting watching, you know, these guys pass each other for like Carson Wentz passed to Jahan Dotson to probably not Terry, though. That's the thing. Terry's not going to be there. Like, he might be there, but he's not going to be participating. We didn't touch on that. I'm hoping we can get a deal done. Like, if we do not get a deal done with Terry, that's just not forgivable. Like, you have to extend Terry McLaurin. There's no reason Terry McLaurin should not be extended before the start of the season.
Yeah, definitely. He's the face of this franchise. If you do not re-sign Terry McLaurin, you're just resetting the clock. And I might actually shed a tear, man. I'm gonna be pissed if we don't re-sign Terry McLaurin. He's my favorite player on this team, and he's the best player on this team. Like I said, he's the face of this franchise. And if you don't extend him, we have problems, and you're just gonna reset the clock. You're gonna piss off the entire fan base, and it just wouldn't be a good look for Washington and Rivera and his coaching staff if we don't get a deal done with Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, if Terry goes to another team, that is gonna suck. Like, I don't know. Obviously, I'm still gonna be a fan of the team, but if he's not on the roster in 2023, we're gonna have serious issues. I'm gonna have serious issues with Rivera and company because I literally don't care. Give him what he wants. Like, if it's 25 mil, like, of course I would rather it be lower than that. I don't think AJ Brown necessarily deserved 25 mil. Like, I really don't. Like, that's like pretty similar to what Devontae and Tyreek got. But give it to him. Just do it. We need him on this roster. And I think you bet. Like, let's say you pay him right now. Let's say you give him 22.5 mil a year, a little more than DJ Brown, or not DJ Moore, and a little bit less than AJ Brown. Combine their names. But if you do that, I think it'll be fine. And, you know, let's say you don't extend him, and he goes out there with a new QB, good receivers around him, and he gets 1,325 yards and 11 touchdowns. Well, hey, not only is the cap going up next year, his price tag is going to go up because of his production. You're probably going to have to be paying 26, 27 mil because of not only the increase in cap, but also the increase in production by him. So just pay the man right now. Like, you know, you want him to be on this team for the next few years. Just pay him. So appreciate you for coming on, Juan. That's gonna about do it for today's stream. And yeah, make sure you guys sub up both of us, and appreciate everyone for coming in. G-Man, Brush the 4, King, Wacky Wapper, Philip B, YouTube Gabriel, Gucci Sushi, and Jay Terry, everyone for coming through. Appreciate you guys, and peace.
Peace.